Haribo. Thank you, Ishan. Gets better and better each time. I hope I'm right. I didn't double check this. Are we on the 14th verse of the second chapter? Okay. I thought I'd just throw something out just in the beginning. Since last week, is there any triumph that anyone's had they want to share, or is there any challenge that they're dealing with that they want to share? And then it may be that as we discuss the verse, there'll be some points that will bear on what it is that you're going through at this time. Does that make sense? So just one or two sentences. Anybody want to share anything that's going on in their life about the past week, either good or bad, just briefly. And then we'll just see what connections we can make to the verse that we have in front of us today. Just jump right in. Otherwise, if everything's hunky-dory.
We have our daily reading goals. Sometimes we do good, sometimes we do not so good. So this week was a good week where to a large extent we were able to complete our reading goals. But as I said, that there are days when you are still not able to achieve it. And Prabhu, I can also see Meena Mataji on the screen. So it's great to have her.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to everyone.
Good to see you.
Oh, Haribo.
Yeah, Krishna,
nice
that I just wanted to bring up that when you said any changes or triumphs in the week,
Yes.
I wanted to mention that mom is here, so to travel across from India during this time.
Came by plane?
Yes.
Wow. Welcome.
Lovely to hear everybody's voices.
Haribo, Haribo.
My challenge is last week, 3 times I decided that I'm not going to eat too much. But
You were eating when we started the meeting.
Yeah.
When you came on screen, you were chewing something.
Yeah, and I called my mother, why is that mentality? She said, I used to tell you story of Subhala and, in the childhood and that tendency. So, yeah.
So you're in fact, you're an expansion of Madhu Mangala.
That's contagious, that's right.
Madhu Mangala used to steal sweets from the other gopas. One time a devotees were sitting in New York. Prabhupada was there, and Tamal Krishna, Tamal Krishna said, "Oh, look over there." And when they looked in the opposite direction, he stole a gulab jamun from their plate and popped it in his mouth. And the devotee said, Prabhupada, he stole my Galabjaman. Prabhupada said, that is all right. That is a Vaikuntha qualification.
One thing we can discuss about is community. How do we strengthen the bonds among community members and how we move along, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, that I would really, because as a community, I have visited so many temples and I think we are doing pretty good. We are a small community, and how can we do better? We are doing pretty good. How can we change? How can we support each other emotionally as well as spiritually?
Okay. Anything else before we go back to Kapil and his family to start this verse?
So I
Hare
just want
Krishna Prabhuji, my challenge is my back. It's been almost 3 weeks now, giving me hard time in my daily work as well. So that's my challenge.
Okay. All right. We'll see what comes up in the verse and the purport. We can give you some comfort in that area. In the meantime, get an MRI too.
Oh, I got 3 different MRIs in last 1 year. 3 different MRIs.
Are you still playing cricket?
I know it's been 3 years now. I wish I can, but no.
Right.
It's a
He's
bit
not allowed to. He's not allowed to play cricket because
Right.
he he was, taken out from the team last year.
because I cheated with Madhu Mangal.
Okay.
That's why.
I
Okay.
just wanted to
Yeah.
say a triumph I had was the tune that I played at the temple yesterday, last night. It was a very complicated tune, and it's a tune I haven't really tried before. The Prabhuji that actually played it in the kirtan I heard, he had 2 or 3 other people playing the keyboard or like the piano so that they could also be doing the chords. But I had to match all those chords on just one harmonium that it took about 3 people to do in the kirtan. And I just feel like I had practiced it. I think I've been practicing it for 2 months now, but I think that I finally, and there was like a last transition that I had last night that didn't do too well. But other than that, it was a pretty successful kirtan, I'd say. And so that's a triumph I had over the week.
Hari Bo.
Very bold. There's no doubt that it was a very successful kirtan. In fact, I would say that the entire program last evening was at an unusually high ecstatic level. I don't know how others who were there felt about it, but I think it was a very good evening for everyone. Speaking of community,
It was good, very good program. Some old faces also came yesterday. That was good thing. So, which is a good sign then, which tells that as we progress into spring and early summer, we'll see more and more old faces. That gives comfort.
The count was 38, I think, for last night's program, according to Sundari Priya. And I was so inspired that I went and redoubled our budget for promoting on Facebook. So that won't do any harm, and it might possibly bring even more people in the future. Also, another thing, our radio engineer came yesterday. We haven't fine-tuned the radio for a few months, and there were a few gaps in the programming, a few blank spaces, and some programs are coming up repeatedly. So Nate Benson came, and we spent about 2 hours going through the playlist and software. So everything is really, really dialed in now. And anybody can get iskcon radio on their phone 24 hours a day, anywhere in America. All they need is a simple, a free app like Simple Radio. I announced that on our Facebook page this morning, and already a few people from Reno said they did it, and they're enjoying the radio station. And the beautiful thing about it is that the radio can be playing on the background while you have other apps open and working. It doesn't have to be an either-or situation. You can just have that on your phone. You can have that as the soundtrack to your life while you go ahead and about doing your other tasks for the day.
And one thing short I can mention, Prabhu, somehow I see a very positive feeling coming out from the community. That's why I mentioned the community. Everybody is working so synergistically Nobody has any agenda. Govind Bhakta Prabhu doing amazing job, bringing people together and, connecting with them. Govind Dev Prabhu manages really well. Sundari Priya Mataji, Omkar is there. So everything is so nice, actually. That's what we want to see. We progress together, that spirit.
Oh, super.
I echo that, Omkar Prabhu, you did an amazing job. You continue to do every Saturday. And I think it's a great personification. We talk about service, but it is service in action, and that can be exemplary. And then, see, last thing, it was a very small gesture of setting up the projector and the screen and everything. But that shows that it's not only like one person's job, it's everyone is invested in you to be successful and glorifying Krishna. So thank you, Omkar Prabhu.
But Kapil Prabhu, you have to remember, all these changes came after the last semester. He took my place.
You told me 2 weeks ago.
I'm just joking, Prabhu. Whatever Kapil Prabhu said is true.
One thing I know, there was a little pause, a little break in the action there for readjusting the camera. Is that right?
Yes, Prabhu. In between, Govind Bhatta Prabhu called, and I think it was upside down. And the Facebook, the picture was going upside down.
Yeah,
So
it was sideways.
Camera glitch. So we tried to. It was 3 times. So that's why we were blocking Kapil Prabhu in between. So he has to pause a little bit for like few seconds.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, I was really getting in the rhythm of his talk. It had a certain momentum, a certain rhythm. And when he had to stop, actually, I would say to Kapil or to any speaker, if you're in a rhythm, don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. No matter what happens. It doesn't matter if someone's adjusting the camera. It doesn't matter if there's a kid running around or whatever. I mean, sometimes you might have to stop when there's a noise. If someone's speaking loudly and it's a distraction, you might have to just stop till the parent gets that child under control or whatever. But outside of a loud noise or an ongoing loud noise that competes, I think once you get into a rhythm, don't break that rhythm for anything. It was a great rhythm, and I like when you had to stop and there was that dead space. I was actually feeling withdrawal symptoms. I was in it right with you.
Oh, Facebook likes some speakers and it doesn't like some others. So that was the case last evening. Raslas Prabhu, Omkar Prabhu, myself, Sundari Priya Mataji. We tested it twice because you play the Aarti first and it was perfectly. We didn't touch anything. We just moved the stand as it is in the same orientation. But then Facebook said, oh, now the speaker came and it changed the orientation automatically.
Anyway, why don't you start? Just keep rolling would be my suggestion. Okay, just before we go to the verse, let Rob and Surabi have anything to share before we launch into this verse. It's good to see you again.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
I don't have anything, but I can certainly say that every day I open my book early in the morning and read something. So that's my progression.
Wonderful.
Step.
Wonderful. Pages for sages.
Yeah.
How many read daily? Just raise your hand. I'll get the gallery view and we'll see how many read daily.
Read the books.
Everybody. All right. Awesome. Rob, are you there, Rob?
I am here. I do read daily.
Cool.
Challenge I've been dealing with this week is some anger and animosity towards my son's mother for being difficult and using my son as leverage. But I've also been able to make some peace with that and kind of let go some of those negative emotions and not let them control me so much.
Great. We'll keep that in mind as we read this verse and purport as well. I'm glad to tell you also that I uploaded 10 episodes of Wisdom of the Sages onto the radio playlist. And I planned, in fact, I uploaded so many episodes and I added so many others to our YouTube channel that I got an email from Wisdom of the Sages. It says I was their top fan for the whole week and I could claim a badge if I wanted.
That's excellent.
It wasn't that I was listening to all the episodes, but I was clicking and I was so active on their page. But anyway, there are 10 episodes. Mostly they're interviews with like Chaitanya Charan, Indadumna Swami, Krishna Nandini, and others. And then as time goes on, I'll put in others too. So those excellent discussions will be available on KHQN Radio. Como, anything other than the blissful, ecstatic arrival of your mom?
No, Prabhuji, I think I was just waiting for her and the whole week for preparation and that mental worry about the flight, etc. So I think that nothing overtakes that.
Okay, all right. So Kapilji, you want to do the verse and purport, and you and Ishan or Shivan, anyone who has any comments or anybody at all is welcome to participate. This is the 14th verse, 2nd chapter, 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Pedro wants to be part 2. He came up. He wants to be part of the kata, the sukha, the parrot.
Does he chant every day?
He says Haribo.
Oh, good bird.
As far as chanting, we have an African gray who one time he said it 50 straight times, Hare Krishna, without just 50 times, not with non-stop.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah.
Guru, can I share a short story, like 1 minute, about Pedro?
Yeah.
It was long back when the temple, Salt Lake City temple, just opened. We haven't even started the program, and one afternoon, Charu Prabhu would come like 1 or twice a week. It was Harikesh Prabhu, Sundari Mataji. We were managing gift stores. So one afternoon, Charu Prabhu came with Pedro, and then he said, okay, Pedro is right here on chair. I'm going to go come back quickly. So he left Pedro right there in the lobby of the temple, like the old building. And Krishna, myself, and Amrita were there. And I stepped out. In the meantime, just Pedro chased them like anything, terrorized them actually. And by the time I came back, they were like almost about to cry. And then we somehow managed to put him back on the table.
He can be a terror, but usually he doesn't really hurt anybody. He just like runs around with his mouth open and his wings out.
That's exactly what I was doing.
All right, Kapilji. Go ahead and read, keeping in mind the comments that Rasvilas made about community, Rob made about, dealing with stress and anger. See if we can shed any light in those areas. One on the upside and the other on the downside.
Sure, I'll try. Atmad ekan mansa Bhagwan Satvatam Pati Totvaya Kirtitvaya Cha Dheya Pujya Cha Nityada. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Purport. If realization of the absolute truth is the ultimate aim of life, it must be carried out by all means. In any one of the above mentioned caste and orders of life, the 4 processes, namely glorifying, hearing, remembering, and worshipping, are the journal occupations. Without these principles of life, no one can exist. Activities of the living being involve engagement in these 4 different principles of life. Especially in modern society, all activities are more or less dependent on hearing and glorifying. And any man from any social status become a well-known man in human society within a very short time if he is simply glorified truly or falsely in the daily newspaper. So I'll just keep it to the first paragraph. Prabhu, my understanding is if someone wants to be Krishna's favorite, this verse is for them. If someone wants the true protection of Krishna, this verse is for them. And so thanks to Pedro, he joined us at the right time. And thanks to Meena Mataji, she joined us at the right time. This is a perfect verse. And I'll try to highlight the point that was raised by Rasvilas Prabhu. and by Rob as well. It reminds me a few months ago or years ago when Amarendra Prabhu, he was here in Salt Lake City. I asked Rasaras Prabhu that I had some questions, and he gave me the opportunity to accompany and drove Amarendra Prabhu back from temple to his house, to Rasaras Prabhu's house. And during the conversation, I was just glorifying him for the talk he gave, the message he gave, and with the confidence that he shows, that someone who's living by the principles as well. And I said that, see, in our management classes, in trainings, they often say that as a speaker, all speakers are either nervous or they are liars. And I asked him that, what is your opinion on this? And he said that, yes, Mark Twain said that either you are nervous or you are a liar, or you can be a devotee. And then we spoke about the aspect of devotee. And then he said that you may be nervous because you are hollow inside. If you fill yourself with the knowledge, and not only fill yourself with the knowledge, you also do the second part, which is more important for you to develop your understanding, is to share that knowledge with others. And if you go with that mindset, I think you are not only helping yourself, you are helping all others around you. As I said, that this could be a great verse to remember, to get Krishna, to be Krishna's favorite. At least there are 10 to 15 verses in Bhagavad Gita, starting from 10.9, where he says, Mat chitta mad gata pranam bodhyantam parasparam katyantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. He says, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in talking about sports, talking about movies, talking about Bollywood stars, talking about politicians. No, he doesn't say that. He says, dwells in me. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and talking about me. And then in the 18th chapter, he says to Arjuna that this is the information that I shared with you. And he didn't ask, okay, what do you think about it? Go home and relax and think about it and tell me what do you think. He says, he continues the conversation by saying that one who not only hear, but also share it broadly is the one who's my favorite. So it's a great analogy, Prabhu. In one of your Bhagavatam classes, you mentioned, talking about Rasulas Prabhu's point on food, that most often people try to eat healthy. But if you always focus on eating healthy, but not using that energy, then it's a disservice, basically. And with Krishna's grace, we all have these very delicious plate in front of us. And we are miser if we are not sharing this information with others. So, Prabhu, that is my understanding of this verse. I really love this verse. And I also like the next verse where he says that once you know this knowledge, how you can use it for your advantage.
You're on your mute, Prabhuji.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So Kapil's very cleverly touching on both points. He's talking about building a community on the outpouring of Krishna consciousness. You know, sometimes we think the preacher is only the person who gives a talk on Saturday night or Sunday night, but we're all preachers. I heard about a lady, she went to her hairdresser every week. She belonged to a prominent Christian congregation. And one week she just happened to have heard something that really impressed her. And then she shared that with her hairdresser. And then ever since then, the hairdresser would insist that before the hairdresser would deal with her, that she had to share a new revelation from the sermon the previous Sunday. So she got into the habit of filing and categorizing the knowledge that she got from the pastor, but not with the idea of hoarding it or keeping it to herself, but with the idea of sharing it. And so this became a regular thing that went on for years and years. And the hairdresser, of course, eventually joined the congregation. But even then, they would get together and they would talk. Then they would instead of it being a one-way conversation, then it would be a two-way conversation where they would both discuss the points and relish them and go deeper and deeper into them. I know that when I used to run, it's a big thing in Spanish Fork, Saturday morning. There's a place called Tree Line Road, and it's a beautiful, there's a creek, Spanish Fork Creek, and trees are there, and it's a 2-lane road, and it goes up on the mountain. And so there'd be as many as 20 or 30 runners who would gather at the Bishop's Storehouse, and then we would leave at 6 a.m. And sometimes we'd run 20, 21, 22 miles in training for a marathon. And they would always ask me, Caru, tell us something, share something with us, And I would have a captive audience. There would be 30 runners that had nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, except to listen to me give them a 5 or 10 minute rundown of some point about Krishna consciousness, which would be of relevance and helpful to their life. So this is the basis for a transcendental community in the, I think it was the 1800s, Emerson and Thoreau. They formed a commune for higher purposes. They called it the Transcendentalists. But it didn't last forever, but it seems like the community, the worldwide community that Prabhupada established with the foundation of 80 of his books, 3,000 of his lectures, another 1,000 of his disciples, all of whom are realized, articulate communicators, is a really good foundation for a community based on higher principles. And then also, I'll just share this other point, and then please, other people jump in. I heard a talk by Chaitanya Charan about troubles. Trouble, when you're in the ocean, you're very much affected by the turbulence. The waves are buffeting you about. It's all you can do to keep your head above water and keep breathing. It's all you can do to keep from drowning. But if you're a little bit above, like if you're on a luxury liner, or if a helicopter comes and picks you up and you're 20 or 30 feet, it doesn't have to be much. It can just be 10 or 20 or 30 feet above the waves, then you have an entirely different perspective. So inasmuch as we're Krishna conscious, and as it says in this verse, we're focusing on Krishna as our primary goal to become Krishna conscious, then we achieve that altitude. We achieve distance from the buffeting, icha, dvesha, samutena, duality, hot and cold, happiness and distress, honor and dishonor. And we achieve detachment for ourselves, and then we can also share our point of view, share our association with others, and help be a light to them, help lift others up so they can get that same distance from the challenges that are at present right in their face. What else?
I can say something, Prabhu. I also ran 22 miles last month, but over 30 days.
In the lab, no doubt.
Yeah. So about the verse, this is a very important verse, as Kapil Prabhu said. Just step back is number one, why people want to be famous through different means, because everybody is thinking at the bodily platform, and they don't have a common goal, common theme. And that's where Krishna consciousness brings everybody at the same platform. And once we have same goal, same theme, then we don't want to be famous, because we want to work for Krishna. For this particular verse, the word modern society is very important. And this modernism has actually done a lot of damage, both spiritually and ecologically. Earth is being exploited, and spiritually people are not spiritual because they just want to be famous in newspapers. But then Srila Prabhupada has given us such a simple process. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the chanting and hearing. And this verse tells that it's simple process. As long as we absorb in this hearing and chanting of Krishna's name will be fine. We just will be all right. All anxiety, all stress will be gone. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that 4 different types of people come to me: those who are anxious, going through distress, those in need of money, and inquisitive and jnani, right? But doesn't matter whoever comes. Of course, I like people jnani because they are at a higher platform, but I accept all of them. And that's where Krishna consciousness, many cases, we have seen that it start, people are distressed and they start Krishna consciousness. But from Krishna's point of view, there's no differentiation. As long as you're absorbed in his name and in his fame, that means his katha you hear every day, he will be fine. He will take care of us, no matter what happens. And because we have a common theme through Krishna consciousness, then there will be community building also in that regard.
Anyone else? That the basis for community is common. You have to have something in common to gather together in a community. So it's interesting. Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And you can walk into any one of the 800 temples all over the world, get the same type of food, same philosophy, same greeting, same arti, same festivals. There's nothing like that anywhere in the world. Otherwise, in every city, there are the Hindu Temple of Cincinnati, the Hindu Temple of Southern Illinois, the Hindu Temple of Vancouver, and everyone's different because people speculate. They come up with their own takes on scriptural authority, on devotion. But Prabhupada established the Krishna consciousness so firmly that there's a consistency in every Krishna temple that you go through worldwide. That was the first thing I appreciate about being a devotee. I felt like a rich man, more than a rich man. As a rich man, he's used to first class. So when he goes to a different city, he goes to a 5-star hotel, he gets good food, he gets chauffeured around in a limousine, but he has to pay for all of that. People greet him, people give him hospitality, but if he didn't pay, it's not love, it's just because he has a lot of money. But my experience was that you could go to any iskcon temple anywhere in the world, and they would greet you like a long-lost brother. They would feed you. They would speak good words to you. They would give you a place to stay. And I thought, iskcon is just like a great big family.
I mean, we cherish through our own experience. 2014, we spent a year in Europe, and we went to different temples. But the one temple we visited, like Bergamo, Italy, we don't understand Italian language, and Matajis were there, most of them, nobody understood English. But there was common language, and that was Krishna consciousness. And we did not have any trouble understanding them, and they didn't have any trouble understanding us also. And we felt like home wherever we went, in Germany or Belgium, everywhere. We did not feel like that we were outside, thousands of miles from USA or India. It was amazing. It was amazing.
We were this conversation while we were eating prasad last night, Radhasham, Pavana, and Sarabi. And one of the points that was made, actually, I think I made this point, but there was agreement, is that when you're together with devotees, you feel a common bond that you don't feel anywhere else in your life except with other devotees. And I think that's really true. I have discovered that to be true, even with your own family, because there's something so pure and deep and precious to you personally that these devotees share. And that's why those gatherings for prasadam at the end of the program, that's when we get to have some real devotee association, why they are such cherished times. And I think in our community, people are, everybody's experience is his own. I think that experience is being shared very nicely among the newcomers too that are coming, that they feel this is something that they that they cannot get anyplace else.
There's that ethic. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly, George. I mean, George and I have talked about this a lot. If we spend our time with devotees, it is such quality time, like nothing else. George and I have to work in the material world, right? It is night and day. It is night and day. You come into the temple and you feel the energy and you see the devotees and you go, wow, I'm home. This is really good. It's good for the soul.
60% of devotional service is the association. If one learns to cherish and relish the association of devotees, 60% of one's spiritual life is already accomplished. Like people said, Machita Magara Pranabodhyantas Katayantascham Tashanti Chara Manti Chara. Devotees gather together and they don't talk about politics. They don't talk about the stock market. They don't talk about international affairs. They talk about Krishna. And as a result, Tashanti Chara Manti Chara, they get a deep level of satisfaction and bliss that's not available anywhere else. The problem with the non-devotee mentality is it's the I mentality. We live in an I world, iPhone, iPad. It's all I marriage, I at work. If you're always calculating how you can get the advantage, then you're never thinking of others' welfare. You don't see others' success as your success, just the opposite. You see others' success that they're taking a position that you could have had. You're in competition. You're jealous and envious of them. You don't want to help them out in the office because you think you might be helping them out to supersede you or to be promoted over you. And whenever there's a meeting to decide the best strategy in a particular area, you're not thinking of the general good of the company and of all the employees. You're only thinking about how you can promote yourself and put yourself forward. So all that adds up to an I-centered, a self-centered employee is not that great an asset to a company. It takes the unsung heroes, the ones who don't need to stand out, to go front and center, who don't need their name on others' lips, who are comfortable enough and full enough and satisfied enough in and of their own selves that they don't get cheap thrills by getting recognition and name and fame from others. That's the culture of bhakti. And we should
talked about the I, me, mine mentality. Yeah, I see it a lot, and I'm sure anybody who works in the corporate world, if we probably all do, but yeah, you see it every day.
This is something that just crossed my mind, and anybody who's played basketball, which maybe no one, I don't know, but they say that the best player on the team is the one who you don't notice, but he's making everyone else look good. He's making everyone else play well. And that's really the bhakti mindset, is that you really want to be supported. You want to glorify everyone else. And that makes everyone lift together.
They had a player like that in Utah. His name was John Bachton.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
John Bachton made Karl Malone look good.
very
Something I just wanted to add was that the difference between, like, because if we like treat it as intellectual property or something that you own, the difference between the intellectual property when it's something material versus when it's spiritual, it's a very striking difference. Because when, like, if I need to ask one of my friends for help on like some chemistry assignment or a math assignment, they will easily give it to me. But if it's someone that I'm not necessarily friends with, or someone that's like one of the top, like the best in the class, when you ask them for help, usually they're not that easily like ready to give it to you, because they either feel you're unqualified or they feel like they're just too good that they shouldn't, like, they don't even need to talk to me. But when you come to like, when you're at a temple, no matter who you ask, you can never tell whether like this is a person that's filled up, auditoriums or stadiums full of seats giving lectures, or if it's someone that just practiced or never even given a lecture. You can never tell because they're all going to approach your question with the same kind of mentality that it's someone that's looking for help. I have the answer to their question and I can easily give it to them, right? Whether it's Amrendra Prabhu or whether it's Krishna, who just did research on one of his lectures, right? They'll always be willing to help you out when it comes to this intellectual property that's spiritual and that's religious, compared to something that's material or something that, like, if someone knows a lot, like you mentioned, about stock market or about football or certain game, and like I don't know much about football or basketball, but when I go to games with my friends, right, they're like, oh well, I mean, you don't even worry about it, like you don't need to know about this, right? Because and you just like kind of feel left out sometimes, but you'll never get that same feeling when you're discussing glorifications of the Lord or a certain tune you liked or a certain verse. And so that's just something I noticed.
Ras Vilas and Ishan and others have mentioned the congeniality we have in Salt Lake City. Of course, it's not limited to Salt Lake City, but basically it's spread throughout the whole iskcon society. But we've got three wonderful servants there, Srindari Priya, Omkar, and Govinda Bhakta, to receive people and make them feel welcome. I think we should hear from Omkar. What goes through your mind when you see a visitor to the temple? Are you there? When you see someone coming, what's your thought process?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for asking me. I try to implement what I learned from my seniors and also from you. That I try to make their experience well. That when they go out, they should remember, they should feel loved, they should feel that these people really love me, and no matter if in the outside world nobody loves me, at least if I come here, these people will care for me, and I am really cared for in this place. And so I hope I try to make their experience well, so they try to come more and more again. And I guess that's what when I came to Krishna temple, that's what I felt. And the love and care that I received made me come here more and more. So I thought if I could do it with others, that would be a good giving it back.
Well, there's no doubt that you and Sundari Priya and Govinda Bhakti have created a very welcoming atmosphere. Sorry, go ahead.
My experience of everyone at the temple, Omkar especially, he's so gracious, so gracious. He's such a pleasant person. He's such an asset to all of us.
Yesterday also Omkar Prabhu shared the story. I want to hear it again, that one lady came and she saw the poster there. Carry on, you.
What's that story, Omkar?
Yeah, yesterday we had gift shop open at all the afternoon time. So 3:30, one old lady, American lady came, and she told that I was driving through 9th East and I saw your domes, and I just wanted to visit. So I thought, yeah, come on, and this temple will open at 4 o'clock. So you till that time you visit the gift store. So she was looking around. I showed her around, and there is a big blue card in the gift store that has a photo of Krishna lifting Govardhan, and below that there is some text. She was reading that. The text was something like Krishna is the cowherd boy in Vrindavan, lifted the big mountain which had perimeter of 21 kilometers and which weighted billions of pounds just to protect his men from the deadly rainfall. And she read all of it and she was so impressed. She thought, wow, Krishna must be very powerful. Open, and I showed her the deities. When she saw Radha Govinda, she thought, so this is the boy who lifted the mountain? I said, yes. So she was so impressed. She took a $20 bill from her purse and gave it to me and told that please put in donation box. I was so impressed that that 1 hour ago this lady was not knowing anything, but now she exactly knows who Krishna is, and I was thinking, wow, how big impact in 1 hour.
Hari, 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 bo.
So when I was listening Omkar telling us about yesterday's experience, I was so delighted to see him so happy about that lady. Maybe many incidents um, uh, came to a temple like that, but like a little child, he was very excited and happy. So that filled my heart.
Devotees are happy when they can make other people happy. Normally, people are only happy, they're happy when others are unhappy. But devotees are happy when devotees' happiness is others' happiness. That's the difference. We had, Thomas was here. He had to go back and take care of his mother after she had a stroke in Idaho. But most of you have been to Spanish Fork Temple. As you enter the door, on the right-hand side is the gift store counter. And then there's a high chair. You can't use an ordinary chair because the counter's high. So whoever is manning the gift store and receiving guests, there's a high chair. And so you could remain seated in the chair because you're still at eye level with whoever comes in. And I've seen over the years, most devotees, they do. They just remain, they don't disturb themselves. They sit in the chair. But when Thomas left to take care of his mother, and it didn't look like he was going to be back anytime soon, he shared one thing with me. Very simple. Very simple. He said, I made a vow that whenever anyone would come in, I would stand up. I would stand up. Simple thing, but he made a vow that he was going to respect them by standing up. Just like when a lady walks in the room, you stand up to show respect to a lady. So he wanted to show his respect by getting off of his derriere and standing vertical for anyone. And then, of course, it's interesting because once you do that first thing, once you overcome the inertia and you stand up, then the next thing you do is you walk around the table, which separates you. There's a counter and then there's a table with masks and hand sanitizers. You walk around the table and then you come up to them and you greet them face to face. And that, just standing up, that one thing sets up a whole chain of reactions, which makes it like 10 times more likely that you're going to have a personal interaction with them, that you're going to end up giving them a guided tour, sharing the philosophy, and getting them off on their Krishna journey in the same way that Omkar did with that lady yesterday.
Psychologically also, Prabhu. People, when you come across any unknown person, they don't listen to you first. They see your body language first. They observe. And that's why body gestures and body language becomes really important, how we greet people first.
Exactly.
Speaking of Thomas Prabhu, he also said, maybe for this lecture or this topic, that Jesus talked to those who has ears. And same goes for Krishna as well, that Krishna talked to those who has ears as well as mouth and tongue, so that you not only hear his message, internalize it, but then after doing that, you also share it with the community, with other people whom you love, and share this message.
Koma, any thoughts? Your thoughts are like pearls that drop from your mouth, so we don't want to go through a session without tapping that reservoir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, when I was reading this verse, there were a couple of things that came to my mind. One is where they mentioned that you need to have a one-pointed focus. So if we are focusing on too many things, it's difficult to achieve anything properly. So it's important to decide your focus and work towards it. When you're consciously putting effort in only one thing and you're doing it with 100% effort. So it's important to understand your focus in life and have that as the one main focus. You will have 10 other things to do during the day, but you should know what's your final focus. And the second thing that came was that during our course of day, we are constantly either talking or listening to something, most of the times when we are awake. And we have just 24 hours in the day. So the more time we spend in actually hearing or talking about the Lord, the lesser time you will spend in doing other kinds of gossip. So the more you increase this part of talking and hearing, the more you are going in the right direction and you're reducing all of the other things. So it automatically helps you to focus in the right direction. And as everybody mentioned, that it's important not to just hear, but to also talk about it and glorify. Because when we see a deal or if we see something specific, we tend to call our friends and inform them that, there is this good deal, why don't you go and get this, you're getting a 50% off, etc. So all of those things are very prompt to do it. But when it comes to spiritual activities of glorifying the God, it kind of takes a little step back because you also need to see if the front person is receptive to that. But it's at least important to try. So we should try to glorify and help people, like how Caru Prabhu is doing that. When somebody comes in, he's putting his effort and he's trying his best to give the knowledge and impart that and glorify and help others also on the same path, hoping that they would also join this stream. That's it, Prabhuji.
The general tendency without hearing and chanting is to minimize the influence of God and to maximize our own self. That without God in the mix, we focus on our problems rather than our God. We magnify our problems and we minimize God. But when you get into a discipline of regularly reading and associating with devotees, you reverse that trend. You magnify God and you come down to a proper level. In other words, you establish balance in your life. You can't read or chant and associate with devotees daily and be out of balance. It's going to eventually bring you into a perfect balance where your perspective is aligned. That God is all powerful. He's unlimited. He can accomplish anything. We can accomplish anything on his behalf. We're not particularly significant, but if we line up our purposes with God's purposes and get his wind behind our sails, so to speak, then there's nowhere we can't go. There's nothing that we can't accomplish. What else?
If I make a comment, and I think this is responsive to the concern that Rob had expressed in the beginning about being agitated over a situation with his son's mother. I had a circumstance somewhat like that, and we all, I think, deal occasionally with having our runaway mind taking us into all kinds of dark places, and we may be repeating lots of negative things, creating negative energy in our minds. And I was actually having this conversation, another conversation with Pavana Mataji yesterday. It was so nice to see you after several weeks of I don't know what you've been doing. I'm just chiding you a bit. But I think this verse speaks directly to that with one pointed attention. One should constantly hear about, glorify, remembering, and worship the Lord. In the Christian tradition that I grew up in, if you have a particular problem that's really eating at you, they don't have any specific prescription, something for you to do in order for you to bring your consciousness up out of that turmoil. But we do it every day. We single-pointedly chant, and this was our conversation yesterday, and if you can focus your mind sufficiently that you really are absorbed in Krishna, whatever your problem was. And I venture to say that this is surefire. This really, really works. And I'm sure we've all had experience with this, but if you can with concentration, really absorb yourself in your chanting, that in and of itself is the relief from all of the different anxieties that are caused by your mind getting absorbed in this, your mind getting hooked on that. And that's a tremendous benefit. And I think you increase your capacity to keep yourself peaceful by just getting better and better at absorbing yourself in the Lord when you chant.
Great.
So it always comes down to the same thing, doesn't it?
Yes. Prabhu, I think Rakesh Prabhu has a point to make, but Prabhu, after he makes his point, Charu Prabhu, it would be good to share the analogy that you shared with us on the Christmas Eve when we visited you in at Spanish Folk Temple about stress, like how to deal with the stress is, and we want to hear that from you. So maybe let Rakesh Prabhu make his point, and then Charu Prabhu, you give us the analogy on the stress again.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So sorry, but first I have to show this painting. My little one, she's bothering me for a while. That show my Radha Krishna painting first.
Haribo, good job.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Now, about today's discussion, I'm glad that Rasulas Prabhuji brought this topic, that how we are doing as a community and how we can better, how we can get better and help each other. So, Prabhuji, it's just my observation that like what we are reading in this verse is that keep Krishna in the center and try to worship Krishna, please Krishna. So even in this pandemic, everybody is concerned about their health, concerned about their job security, and so many things. It has so many negative things, but there are so many positive things as well. And that's my observation as a member of this community, that we have grown as a community even in this difficult situation. There were times when we don't see each other, and as you all are saying, that association is the devotee association is a pillar of devotional service, and we were missing to see each other physically. But then we continued we evolved, we came up with the idea of this Zoom call. So at least we are having the association virtually. We cannot physically be present, but this virtual meeting and virtual association is keeping us going. It's giving us that motivation that we were missing for some time. And also I want to mention some names. We all know how Govind Bhakta Prabhu leads the kirtan and coordinates to arrange the kirtan even before the pandemic, when we used to have Saturday program at the temple, and now for the virtual Zoom meetings, he's coordinating that thing. George Govind Dev Prabhu, sorry, not Govind Bhakta Prabhu, Govind Dev Prabhu. Then Sundari Priya Mataji, what to speak of her? She inspired so many of us, and now she's almost like full-time dedicated in temple. So that's a great service. And Omkar Prabhu, like he's so humble. He's probably one of the most humble person I have met at the temple, and he's always doing service. He's always greeting people. Whenever you go to temple, he's always there doing some kind of a service. And first impression when we see him is like, okay, he hardly talks, and he's always so quiet, but he has a great sense of humor. If you spend more time with him, you'll understand. He has a great sense of humor. in a conversation, people will say 20 things and he'll just keep listening. He will say one thing, but that will be the best part of the whole conversation. He has a great sense of humor. I really love his association. And Govind Bhakta Prabhu, I mean, he has, since he came, like I am talking as a member of like who is seeing things from outside, coming to the temple for past few years and seeing those changes. Like when Govind Bhakta Prabhu came, he tried to make everybody feel that they are part of this congregation, they are part of this community, and he made sure that everybody feels engaged. Like for me personally and my family personally, when we got the opportunity to serve the Lordship, like offer prasadam, make bhoga for the Lordship, we really felt blessed and we really felt more connected, and that gave us more motivation to serve the Lord, and we felt great, and that's one of the many qualities that he's bringing to the community. So he is doing a great service, and like Rasvilas Prabhu, he cooks prasadam most of the time on Saturday programs and other programs. So there are so many names, regular devotees who are doing so much of service as a community here. But I also wanted to mention Omka Prabhu. He like uh, probably almost 1 year, but if you look at him, it feels like he has been here for like many years. It doesn't feel like he just came. He makes sure everybody feels connected. And also there are like during this pandemic, we were missing some of the regular devotees. And yeah, it's a health concern. Not everybody is feeling safe to expose themselves and come to the temple physically. But so many new people pitched in. Like I'm forgetting the name of that Prabhuji and Mataji, but she makes very good kheer. That paisam. I'm forgetting the name. Omka. I'm sure Omka Prabhu would understand.
Indra Mataji.
Yes,
Ravi
yes.
Dapni Indira.
Yes, Prabhuji. So they are bringing bhoga to the Lordship so many times. Then I want to mention Hitesh Prabhu and Aarti Mataji. Like they are doing a great service to the temple. Like so many people have pitched in to make sure that we are not stopping, and this pandemic cannot stop us as a community from growing. So we as a congregation and as a community have evolved ourselves, and there have been so many new faces, not to offend anyone here and not to like make a point that, oh, okay, the new ones are doing great and we are missing the old ones. But as a community, we have showed that we are evolving, we are growing, and even if for some reason the person who was doing all the services is not able to do now, there are others who are understanding that it's a job they are doing, it's a service they are doing for Krishna, and Krishna makes sure that there are always arrangements. Somebody will come. This service is not going to stop. Whether we are having physical association, if it's not possible, we will have virtual association. And our congregation has showed that thing, and we have evolved great. So that's my realization on the point that Rasvilas Prabhu mentioned in the beginning. And then to I guess Rob Prabhuji's point, like anger and anxiety. So for that one, I want to mention, like if we are getting the opportunity to be in association with devotees or reading the scriptures and talking about Krishna, or hearing some lectures about Krishna, that is definitely going to help us. And as a community, once this pandemic is over, or at least the things changes, we need to like collaborate with each other, not putting our personal things before Krishna or before Krishna service. And like when we have any congregation or even in our family, if there are different people, they have different opinion, and sometimes there are like misunderstandings, and that can happen in any congregation as well. Sometimes persons say, and we might feel offended, but we just need to understand that this person is not asking us to do the job in their home. He or she is asking us to do a job for Krishna. So even if we don't like sometimes their word, still understand that this is the service for Krishna. We don't need to feel offended. And as a congregation, we just need to like be together so we can advance as a community and do better service for Krishna. And if we can do that in our congregation or in our community, we won't have any of that anger or those issues. So that's what I want to share on those 2 points, Prabhuji. Thank you for the opportunity.
Haribo, thanks for your comprehensive comments. Jai Ho. Just out of curiosity, Rob, do you have a Bhagavatam at all? Do you have
I
a
have the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. All right. Maybe can you find this verse? Maybe we'll have you read this verse. It's related to what we're talking about in the Bhagavad Gita. 46th verse, 18th chapter, the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, let's see.
And just go ahead and read that and the purport, and I think that'll be a good note to kind of wind up here on.
I will probably butcher this a bit, but I'm going to try.
Oh, that's all right. You won't be the first one, nor the last one.
Yata pravitir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam svar karmana tam abhayacharya siddhim vindanti manava.
Perfect. You nailed it.
By the worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. As stated in the 15th chapter, all living beings are fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Supreme Lord is the beginning of all living entities. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asaya Yata. The Supreme Lord is therefore the beginning of life in every living entity. And as stated in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord, by his 2 energies, his external energy and internal energy, is all-pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energies. Generally, the Vaishnava devotees worship the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. His external energy is a perverted reflection of the internal energy. The external energy is a background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion as Paramatma, is situated everywhere. He is the super soul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everywhere. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto the Supreme. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. That is recommended in this verse. Everyone should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Hrishikesha, the master of the senses, and by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, should be worshipped. If one thinks always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, then by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. That is the perfection of life. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12:7, Tesham aham samudharta. The Supreme Lord himself takes charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life. In whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection.
Just a comment. You have a nice reading voice.
Thank you.
It's very soothing to the ears.
As long as I don't put you to sleep.
Not just the opposite. Any thoughts arise while reading those words?
I definitely need to strengthen my devotion. I definitely need to focus on my spiritual practice and maintaining an awareness of Krishna in my life and in all things.
It makes it very personal. You know, Christians talk about having a personal relationship with Jesus, but this talks in the same vein. One should think that he is engaged in a particular type of occupation by Krishna. That means that if you're a lawyer, if you're good at law, or if you're good at IT, or if you're good at teaching, that talent is given by Krishna, and Krishna has invested in you. And so when you use that talent, that's basically using what Krishna gave you. And then the next step is to try to figure out how to give that back, how to honor God. In some areas, we can do it more directly. In some areas, we can't maybe directly do it, but we can aspire to achieve a level of excellence. Because Krishna is excellent and his devotees are excellent. And wherever you find excellence, that's Krishna. So our first goal is to achieve, to be the best that we can be in our particular area. And that will be pleasing to Krishna. And then Krishna will give you the key how you can go from his external energy, which is basically outside of the protection of Krishna, and from there you go inside Krishna's internal potency. His personal guarantee is that he will protect anyone who puts him in the middle of their life. So that's a challenge that faces all of us. It's a blissful challenge. There's nothing difficult about it. It's just moving closer in under the sheltering wings of Krishna by getting into his internal energy. It's like we're like sparks, and we've been cast out of the fire at such a distance and for such a long time that we no longer have light and heat. We've lost our fiery qualities. So the more we chant, the more we associate with devotees, the more we read Bhagavad Gita, the more we offer our food, we reignite that Krishna fire. And the more we reignite that Krishna fire, the more Krishna shows up in our lives and fulfills his promise to guarantee us his personal protection.
Common community building starts with common goals, as we concluded all. And in terms of material distress, people always tend to say, oh, okay, let my problem be solved, then I will do this. I was talking with one of my friends in India, going through some distress, same type of problems with wife and stuff. And I've been telling him, I give example of Maharani Kunti and all that stuff. They say, oh yeah, if this is solved, then I will start chanting too. And that is the challenge. I told him this morning very strongly, I said, you put Krishna, at least just do 2 rounds and your problem will be solved. Trust me, you have to put faith. And he has faith. So that's what we have to do in our daily life. Put Krishna first. No matter what distress we are going through, what problems we have, first we bring him into the picture. Other things will be sidelined automatically. And that's the faith we want in him.
We want to be in the faith zone, which is to say in the internal potency of the Lord.
Yes.
Any last words, Kamala? Sarabi?
I have been reading chapter 2, and somewhere it said, I remind myself when I'm in the stress or there is something going on, nothing is permanent and nothing is certain. 2 things, if you remind yourself again and again, you come to the peace with yourself.
Exactly. Nothing is permanent and nothing is certain. You just have to ride the waves. Kamo, any last benedictory words?
I'd just like to add one more thing, Prabhuji. There's a famous doha from Tulsidas, and Kapil Prabhupada also reiterated it yesterday in his lecture, which says, Tulsi bharose Ram ke nirbhar ho ke soye, anhoni honi nahi honi ho so hoye, which says that you trust in the Lord and you can just sleep peacefully because nothing that is bad will happen. Whatever has to happen is going to happen. But when you trust him, nothing can go wrong for you. And whatever is happening, it's either because of your karma or that is something that will eventually be good for you. So it's having that faith, which is very difficult to completely surrender. But slowly, I think, as we face situations, even when I'm scared a little at times, I'm scared of darkness, I keep telling this to myself that, okay, nothing wrong can happen. Just have faith and you'll get through. So I think it's important to remember to have that faith. We often we are often so indulged by the worries that we have around us and all of the stress that we forget that there is somebody else, that we have to keep saying that you are the one you're going to take care. It's your responsibility. You take care and just have that faith. It's difficult, but it's a practice. It's only by practice that we can reach it.
Yeah, in spite of all the challenges and betrayals that Kunti had, when it was over, she said, Krishna, let's do it again. Let's do it again. That means Krishna consciousness taking shelter of Krishna is more powerful than anything that comes against you. You and Krishna are a majority. Pavana, anything last? Benedictory? And Govinda, Dave, you get your guitar tuned up there?
Tuned.
There's a saying this is out of like the Masonic Brotherhood, and they say, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and he will direct thy path. And that's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I had the same thought. That's the best expression of the Lord's protection, I think, in Christian scripture. But
Right.
I love what Prabhupada says that if you're really a sincere devotee, Krishna will take charge of your life. He will take charge. And don't you want Krishna to be taking charge? I mean, that really invokes the whole feeling of protection.
Right.
Raise your hand if
I'll
you
sign
want
up for
Krishna to
that.
take charge.
I'm signing up for that.
I do. The thing is where our effort versus Krishna's effort, and that's what we have to see. If we put our efforts in material things, we are not going to get Krishna's effort. But if we put our effort in him, then we're going to get his effort. And there's a nice story about Gajendra Moksha, right? I mean, he is more eager to help us than we are more eager to seek his help. And that's what the story tells. I mean, once Gajendra asked, prayed to him, he came running. He was faster than his Garud, actually. Garud was behind. He just came and running and to help Gajendra. And that's the attitude we should all possess. Just believe, and seek his help. We have to cry loud.
You have to think that if Krishna will help an
I
elephant,
just wanted
he'll
to
certainly
add a
help
few
me.
Exactly. Although I started looking like an elephant slowly.
We'll let you get back to your lunch.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I just wanted to add a few comments before we end today.
Please.
That thanks to all the devotees and senior that don't belong to me, no credit to it's my seniors. And especially we can't stop this conversation without thanking Sundari Priya Mataji. She is doing a lot of work nowadays without any considering any personal comforts or any personal. She is just every day, and it's so great to see that she is putting a long time with. And also Govind Bhakta Prabhu does the same thing when he's here. So it's a great opportunity for me that I get to serve all of you. I always keep looking for Rakesh Prabhu's car, gray Honda CRV with nameplate Raghav coming in the parking lot, or Rastas Prabhu's car, white Honda CRV with the nameplate 7BR, and it's true for all other also. So whenever you drive in, it's really happiest moments of my day or my life. So I'm very grateful to all of you for giving me opportunity to serve you, and I'm looking forward to serve you more and more in coming few years.
This conversation never ends.
Thank you.
This conversation never ends. And last week, Omkar Prabhu said, "Oh, Rasvilas Prabhu, you came this time in the office and then you left this time from the office." I said, "What? How do you know?" And he sees my car in parking lot of Warnock Engineering Building, and he remembers the number, the license plate number.
Wow.
Govinda, do you want to finish with kirtan?
Yes, thank you. I'd love to do that. This got a little bit of a Latin feel to it, south of the border. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Govinda Dev, Haribol, for the final kirtan. The first kirtan was led by Ishan Sharma, and in the between of those, we had a wonderful, enlivening discussion. I forgot to mention our visitors on Facebook Live. Anjali, she says, always remember to have that faith. Also, she says, nothing is permanent, nothing is certain. Greg was on board, Greg Kapitan, Dharma Bhavana, Divya Joshi, and of course Rakesh's better half, Bhavana, was also on board with us. Manish Gupta, awesome. Then Sammy White, Radhesham, Richard Boninath Boyden, Jean Eskelson, and Prana Panat Gopal. They all joined us. Prana Panat compliments you on your voice, your nice voice for leading kirtan. Well, thanks very much for those who joined us from Facebook Live. Thanks very much for everyone who's on the original Zoom call, for your input into a very, very enlivening and productive discussion. I think probably next week we'll do the same thing. It's just ask everyone to share a little something from their week and see where that leads us. Right? It says if you share a triumph, it doubles it. If you share a problem, it cuts it in half. So try and moving forward, offer everyone the opportunity to double their triumphs and half their sorrows moving forward. Thank you. And with me, if you like, one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.